matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tangkop, tangkop time. Tayo na. Buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na.
afternoon to our senior high school learners who are watching via our FB Live at DepEd Tayo Tangub and Astral Academy.
I am Vincent Esmondobon from Tangub City National High School.
And I am Mildred Bibi Chaida from Tangub City National High School.
And
we are your teacher facilitators today. Good afternoon, Sir Vincent.
Good afternoon din, ma'am. And today, ma'am, is Wednesday, so January 26, 2022, and we will be discussing topics about the subject Practical Research 2.
With that, stay tuned, learners, because we are going to discuss our subject for today, which is Practical Research 2, after a short break. This is Astral Academy Cyber School. We are back to our lessons, still here in Astral Academy Cyber School. So this afternoon, learners, since we already discussed the topics covered in the most essential competency or MELCs in the subject Practical Research 2, let us have a summary by introducing to you the research process, the output of your study. So in the research process, as we recap, there are actually two stages: the research proposal stage and the final stage.
Okay, ma'am, so let us have again the part 1 of the research process, ma'am. So we have first part is the problem, ma'am. And then under the problem, ma'am, we have the introduction, statement of the problem, hypothesis, scope and delimitation, importance or significance of the study, and then definition of terms. So under just part 1, ma'am. Then part 2, we have review of related literature, ma'am, and studies. Then part 3, ma'am, is we have the methodology. So under methodology, ma'am, we have the research design, the sampling, procedure, instrument, and treatment of the data, ma'am. And then in the final stage, ma'am, of the research paper are the following. First part is the data collection, ma'am. Then next part's the presentation, analysis, and interpretation of the data. And then the third one is we have the summary, conclusion, and recommendation.
And that is actually the final stage of the research paper, sir, is our focus this afternoon.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So learners, in our previous live, we already give you the detailed on the first, second, and third stage or part of the research output. So this time, learners, we will continue on the final stage part of the research output, which are the data collection, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data, summary, conclusions, and recommendations.
Yes, ma'am, Mildred. So in the data collection, ma'am, this how the data being collected, meaning the process.
Yes. Then next, Sir Vincent, is the presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. So we actually discussed this one, but then ato man siyang gi-sum up, ato man siyang gi-review.
Yes, ma'am.
So of course, learners, so remember that good presentation of data matters in research. So you have to organize your data based on the research questions. So nakahinumdum pag yun ato ang mga, I'm sure nakahinumdum pa atong mga learners, ana. So in this sense, the data must be presented in graphical or visual presentation. So itong graphical or visual presentation, it is also known as the non-prose materials.
Exactly, ma'am.
So the purpose of presenting the data in this way is to make the outline of the results more presentable.
So for easy understanding sa mga readers, ma'am.
Yes.
So these are some of the non-prose materials, ma'am, in the data presentation. So we have the graphs, bars, tables, charts, diagrams, illustrations, and drawings. So flash on the screen, ma'am, we have an example of data that is being presented through tabular presentation, ma'am. So it is percentage, ma'am, no? So the data about the teacher's performance rating in percentage. So we have understanding, outstanding, very satisfactory, So this the table, ma'am, helps summarize and categorize data using columns and rows.
So, aside from that, sir, the tabular presentation, we also have this a graphical presentation.
Yes,
So, particularly, example ani is a pie chart.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so flash in your screen is an example of a pie chart nga presentation. That is a graphical presentation, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Another way, ma'am, in presenting data, ma'am, is through bar graph. So we have an example there, no? The data is being presented through bar graphs. So in that bar graph, ma'am, so makita mo sa pinaka-highest
Yes, sir.
na percentage. So in that example, so there are 47.9% no available radio at home. So in that way, ma'am, so the readers can simply describe or masabtan nila, ma'am.
Dali ra pud
dali
nila
nila
makita.
Masabtan, yes. Then in presenting data, ma'am, in interpreting and analyzing the gathered data, so di ba, ma'am, sa last part na dapat na natay include nga theories and related studies
Yes,
that
sir.
will support or contradict the findings or result of the study. Baga kung pwede ta mo balik sa RRL na to, ma'am.
Yes.
Pwede na to mangita atag mga theories or related studies na connected or relevant sa findings.
Either
Sa
mo
present
agree
study.
or
Yes.
mo disagree sa ato ang present nga
Study.
data nga ato ang nakuha.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly, ma'am.
Okay, then aside from that, sir, ang bar graph pod nga presentation, aside sa easy kaayo nato ma-identify
Yes,
ang percentage, it is also, the bar graph also illustrates the comparison. So, dali ra makita ang comparison sa ato ang data nga na-gather.
Exactly, ma'am. And then, in presenting data, ma'am, nakadepende po sa klase ng data na itong nag-gather.
Yes, sir.
If sa itong gamito, is either bar graph ba, tabular ba, or makadepende siya sa klase ng data itong nag-gather.
So, dili ta basta-basta kay ganahan
Yes.
kog pie chart,
Yes, yes,
pie
ma'am.
chart akong kuan,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
then it depends on the data nga
Yes, ma'am.
imuhang gi-gather. So,
Exactly, ma'am.
through the use of this presentation, so gamay lang ato ang gi-example ani Sir Vincent,
Yes, ma'am.
the researcher will interpret clearly the given data.
Exactly.
Okay? So, alright, learners, so moving on to the next part of the research is the summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations.
Okay, ma'am. So, it is also expected that at this point, ma'am, so you have already drafted your summary of findings. So, as part of the research paper, summary of findings include the overall purpose, the main and the specific research problem, the research methodology, and the major findings. So, make sure that this part is presented briefly in a straightforward manner.
Yes, sir. So, the summary of findings, this is where you are going to generate your conclusions. So,
Exactly.
at this time, you are going to generate answers or conclusions as what you have interpreted. So,
Yes,
gikan sa ato ang pag-interpret, pag-present pa lang nato after sa presentation, ato siyang gi-interpret unsay unsay but pasabot or unsay ato ang findings nga
Main findings.
yes nga nakuha from that, no?
Exactly.
Okay, Sir Vincent.
Okay, so in the conclusion part, no?
Yes,
next
sir.
Next to summary of the findings, we have now the conclusion part. So no new information is expected. So researchers consider the research questions and drew answers for these questions, ma'am. So it is very important that the conclusions are limited with the main objective of the study and research questions presented at the beginning of the research paper, ma'am. So hence, conclusions are precise statement that directly answers the stated research questions.
Okay, so it is also very important, no, for the researchers that a well-written conclusion provides you with important opportunities to demonstrate to the reader. So your understanding of the research problem. So kinahanglan sa atong sa conclusion, sir, kay ato sang i-stipulate daan what are our research questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Then your conclusions must be precise, no? Precise statement that directly answers the stated research question. So again, ang ang pagsulat pud nato or ang pag-formulate nato sa conclusion sa atong study magdepende pud siya sa institutional, no, sa institution unsay format kay naman tay lahi-lahi, no, depende pud siya sa unsay format sa atong school. It could be lahi or it could be enumerative or pwede pud siya in a paragraph form. Okay? So now let's talk about research recommendations. So from conclusion, sumuhatag ta og recommendations. So kung intag recommendations, these are our suggestions nga ato abang hatag, no? Ika-advise, no? Recommendations, suggestions or advice regarding the best course of action to take as a result of your summary of findings and conclusion. Okay, kay mao man gyud ni pinakabugat gyud pod nato nganong mag-research ta, no, to address the gaps sa ato ang research problem or to answer the research questions. Dayon kita pod as researcher dili lang pag nanatay data dili lang enough ana kun dili mo hatag pud ta og mga suggestion nga buhaton sa organization baka no. Okay, so the purpose of a recommendation, Sir Vincent, is to provide a useful guide that will not only address certain problems but result in a successful outcome.
Yes, ma'am. So dapat that is why mo careful ta sa pag-interpret sa atong nag-gather nga data, paghimo og conclusions.
Yes.
Nakadepende atong recommendations diyan, ma'am. Okay, so then there are two major purposes of the research recommendations should be considered to be craft a good recommendations. First, we have implications of your findings must identify the areas of concern that needs to be addressed. Then the second one, ma'am, we have how can future studies address the limitations you encountered in your research.
Okay, sir. Kay ang atong research og pwede man gud siya magamit pod sa uban.
For
Okay.
future researchers, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So take note of that no matter how similar the studies are in content and context, their findings may be different because they will depend heavily on the outcomes and current situations that have occurred during the time frame of the study. So your recommendations should point specific actions to be addressed. No? An excellent advice would direct those affected by the situation to take concrete action on what needs to be done to solve the issue or to resolve the situation.
Okay, ma'am. So, mo itag mention similar gila mo.
Yes, sir.
So, one of the characteristics man po sa quantitative, ma'am, is replicable.
Yes,
so,
sir.
therefore, pwede na to siya makandak but in different research setting, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So, if pareho og findings, therefore, mas reliable ito siyang
Yes, sir. Pero lahi-lahi lang og situation
Yes,
or
ma'am.
setting. That is why in the previous part of our research, gina-stipulate yun nato dito asa dapit i-conduct nato ang ato ang research study.
As a time frame.
Okay, yes, sir.
So, these are the guidelines in writing your recommendations according to to 2017, page 214. First, you have to write your recommendations based from your conclusions and limitations of your study. Then, you have to align it to the purpose and scope of your research. So, dahil mo, balikan ito na especially
Yes,
sa
sir.
research methodology. Then, next is they have to write a practical and doable recommendations. Then they have to be specific. Then make it concise and clear. Then avoid recommendations that are easy to address. Then please take note that there are different ways of formatting your recommendations. So you can have it numbered or in paragraphs depending on your institutional format.
Yes, so I think murag ato nang nahatag ang mga techniques, strategy on how or basis gid nato, guidelines on how to formulate the recommendations of your study. So I hope our learners were able to follow the basic guidelines of our research study, and hopefully our learners would apply what they have learned from our discussion sa ilahang kaugalingon nga research study. Kaya nga tong mga learners, naghimo naman gyud sila og research. Okay? So, for our senior high school stars, so I hope that you acquire knowledge on the topics being shared to all of you. So if you have any questions or comments about the topics, so please write it down below.
So again, thank you for your watching here. So again, this is Teacher Vincent from Tangub City National High School.
Okay, so learners, do not forget the attendance marker at the top sa inyong screen. Okay, so thank you learners for watching us. This is Mildred B. Bichayda from Tangub City National High School. Have a productive day ahead and stay safe everyone. This is Astral Academy Cyber School.
The Department of Education, Division of Tangub City, in partnership with the local government unit of Tangub, presents Ang Tangkub, Transforming Advancement in the New Normal, guiding K-12 learners under broadcast media and instructional program crafted in response to the need of making education possible and accessible to students at the comfort of their homes. It covers the most essential competencies, thematically layered in drama plays which were originally written, directed, and performed by teachers to see to it that education is securely provided. This is Ang Tangkub.
Tayo na, buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo na, tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkub, tangkub, tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tangkop, tangkop time. Tayo na. Buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo, tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tangkop, tangkop time. Tayo, tayo na. Buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo, tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo, tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very mga aral sa mundo. Tayo na umutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tangkop, tangkop time. Tayo, tayo na. Buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo, tayo na. Umutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo, tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo, tayo na.
The Department of Education, Division of Dangub City, in partnership with the local government unit of Dangub, presents Ang Tangkub, transforming advancement in the new normal, guiding K-12 learners under broadcast media, crafted in response to the need of making education possible and accessible to students at the comfort of their homes. It covers the most essential competencies thematically layered in drama plays, which were originally written, directed, and performed by teachers to see to it that education is securely provided. This is Ang Tangkub.
It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na.
Hello and good day, grade 7 learners. Welcome to the 6th episode for second quarter of Ang Tangkub, TV-based instruction. You have learned in the previous episode the types of reproduction, which are asexual and sexual. Now, let's go deeper by describing the method or process of fertilization, which happens only in sexual reproduction. As mentioned earlier, this episode will help you describe the process of fertilization in sexual reproduction. Fertilization is the union of sperm cell in male and egg cell in female. Sexual reproduction is a form of reproduction that involves two parents. Humans and all animals that reproduce sexually
have reproductive cells called gametes. Gametes are formed during meiosis, in the form of sperm produced within the testes of males, or eggs produced within the ovaries of females. Under favorable conditions, sperm and egg cell unite in a process known as fertilization. The resulting fertilized egg or zygote contains genes from both parents. Hence, the offspring have unique combinations of genes. Offspring of sexual reproduction differ genetically from their siblings, and species extinction is highly unlikely. There are two types of animal reproduction, namely external and internal reproduction. External fertilization or reproduction, characterized by the release of both sperm and egg into an external environment. Many aquatic animals simply release their eggs and sperm into the water, which become the medium where the sperm swims to unite with an egg. Internal fertilization or reproduction, male deposits his sperm directly into the female's body, where the sperm cells swim up the reproductive tract until they encounter a mature egg in an oviduct or fallopian tube where fertilization occurs. This type of reproduction processes offspring in any of the following ways: oviparous, ovoviviparous, and viviparous. Oviparous animals are female animals that produce eggs or lay eggs which develop and hatch outside the maternal body. Examples are chicken, crocodile, duck, birds, and so on. Ovoviviparous animals, these are female animals that also produce eggs, but these eggs are hatched inside the mother's body. Thus, they are born live. Examples are sharks, fishes, and some snakes. Viviparous animals are those in which fertilization and embryo development occur inside the individual instead of producing or laying eggs. They produce live young. This time, let's discuss the process of fertilization in plants. We all know that some species of plants reproduce asexually, and sexual reproduction in plants is present in angiosperms or flowering plants. Let's first discuss the structure of plants important for fertilization. We have the sepals, petals, stamens, which are the male reproductive organ, carpel or pistil, the female reproductive organ. Stamen consists of a long stalk called filament and a swollen head called anther. Consist of numerous tiny pollens, which are the male reproductive cells. Pistil consists of a sticky structure called stigma attached to the tube-like structure called style. It ends in a swollen part called ovary, and this contains the female reproductive cells. When pollens from the anthers of the stamen join the ovules in the ovary, this is called fertilization. This fertilization forms the seed inside the ovary. Later in the process, this ovary will become fruit. Pollination is the process in which pollens are transferred from the anther to the stigma, thereby enabling fertilization in plants. Pollination occurs in various ways. Petals of flowers have bright colors and strong fragrance that attract insects and other animals. Some insects feed on the nectar present in the flower. While doing so, the pollens from the anther get attached to the body of the insects, and when these insects visit another flower for nectar, pollens get to the sticky top of the pistil and goes down through the style, reaching to the ovules of the ovary, which then results through fertilization. And the ovules then forms seed. When pollens reach the stigma of the same flower, it is called self-pollination. When pollens reach the stigma of different flower of the same kind, it is called cross-pollination. Hope you learned something new today, kiddos. Now, kindly get your activity sheet number 6 in Science 7. Let's read the directions. Activity 1. Directions. Write your answers in 2 to 5 sentences in each question or statement. Please prepare grade 8 learners for Science 8 is coming next. This has been Miss Bernalyn Carpio, your science teacher for today. Always remember to keep reading, keep watching, and keep learning at home. Bye!
Hello, grade 8 learners! Welcome to our 6th episode for the second quarter of Ang Tangkub. Last episode, you have learned about tracing the path of typhoons that enter the Philippine area of responsibility using a map and tracking data. Today, we will compare and contrast comets, meteors, and asteroids. Our solar system's small bodies, such as comets, meteors, and asteroids, pack big surprises. They are leftovers from the formation of our solar system 4.6 billion years ago. While the planets and moons have changed over the millennia, many of these small chunks of ice, rock, and metal have not. They are a lot like a fossil record of planetary evolution. The shooting stars that we can see in the sky is actually not a star, but it is another celestial object or thing that is observable in the universe. Let's start our discussion with comets. Comets are fuzzy, luminous big dirty snowball composed of rock dust wrapped around a big ball of ice. When frozen, they are the size of a small town. Comets orbit the Sun just like planets and asteroids do. Except, a comet usually has a very elongated orbit. They move very slowly, but remain in our sight for weeks before disappearing out of view. As the comet gets closer to the Sun, some of the ice starts to melt and boil off, along with particles of dust. These particles and gases make a cloud around the nucleus, called a coma. One part of the comet is the so-called head. It is composed of a nucleus and coma. It becomes bigger as more gas and dust are released from the coma. The radiation from the Sun pushes the dust particles away from the coma, causing it to form a dust tail, which in some comets can reach up to 150 million kilometers in length. Astronomers classify comets based on the duration of their orbits around the Sun. There are short-period comets that takes 200 years or less to complete one orbit. Example is the Halley's Comet that appears once every 76 years. On the other hand, there are also long-period comets that takes more than 200 years to complete one orbit. Example is the comet Hale-Bopp that takes 2,533 years to complete one orbit. There are also single apparition comets, which permanently exit the solar system after a single pass of the Sun. Scientists think that short-period comets may have come from Kuiper belt beyond the Neptune's orbit, whose gravitational interactions with the outer planets allow them to be dragged inward. On the other hand, long-period comets are thought to come from Oort cloud. which are very far and can be pulled inward by the gravitational pull of passing stars. The current number of known comets is 3,711. Comets leave a trail of debris behind them that can lead to meteor showers on Earth. For instance, the Perseid meteor shower occurs every year between August 9 and 13, when Earth passes through the orbit of Swift-Tuttle comet. Now let's proceed with asteroids. Asteroids are simply rocky or metallic objects orbiting the Sun in the same way the planets orbit. However, asteroids are hard to see because they are reflecting little light and they are always moving. Although asteroids orbit the Sun like planets, they are much smaller than planets. That's why they are called minor planets or planetoids. There are lots of asteroids in our solar system. Most of them are found in the main asteroid belt, a region between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. Just like comets, asteroids are thought to be leftovers from the formation of our solar system. Now, do you think all asteroids are the same? That's right. Asteroids are not the same, since they are formed in different locations at different distances from the Sun. Here are a few ways that they differ. Asteroids aren't all round like planets. They have jagged and irregular shapes. Some asteroids are hundreds of miles in diameter, but many more are as small as pebbles. Most asteroids are made of different kinds of rocks, but some have clays or metals, such as nickel and iron. Take note that the largest asteroid is Ceres. It is about 930 kilometers in diameter. Can you imagine how huge that is? Further, Ceres, being the largest asteroid, is considered as dwarf planet. A larger object such as a planet could pull an asteroid out of orbit. And once an asteroid is captured by the gravitational pull of a planet, it may become a satellite of that planet. Many astronomers believe that the two satellites of Mars, Phobos and Deimos, are captured asteroids. If it is not because the giant planet Jupiter that pulls the asteroids outward, large asteroids would constantly be hitting Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Earth, which are called the inner planets. Since the asteroid belt is closer to Jupiter than it is to the Sun, Jupiter exerts more gravitational pull on the asteroids than the Sun, resulting in the asteroids to keep in orbit away from the inner planets. So we're done exploring about comets and asteroids. Now, let's move on to meteors. Meteors are space rocks or meteoroids that enter Earth's atmosphere. In other words, a meteor is what happens when a meteoroid burns up upon entering Earth's atmosphere, creating a streak of light. Many people considered meteor as falling star or shooting star. There are three main sources of meteoroids. Many are leftovers from the dust that formed from the solar system. Others are fragments of asteroids, broken off in collisions. Huge meteor showers, caused by many meteoroids entering the atmosphere in one go, are caused by comets. They occur when the Earth's atmosphere passes through a stream of small particles left behind in the comet's tail. The color of the observable light emitted by a meteor may depend on the chemical composition of the meteoroid. Orange-yellow if sodium, yellow if iron, blue-green if magnesium, violet if calcium, and red if it is atmospheric nitrogen and oxygen. There are also more interesting facts about meteors. There are millions of meteors in the Earth's atmosphere every day. Meteors can become visible as high as 120 kilometers above Earth. Meteors can give off various colors when they burn, which is associated with their composition. Meteors that burn brighter than usual are called fireballs. Most fireballs go unseen because they occur over the ocean or during daylight hours. Meteors usually burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. If a meteor produces a sound, it is called a sonic boom and is typically heard seconds after the meteor becomes visible. Although meteors have existed since ancient times, they were not believed to be from our solar system until 1833. Usually, meteors are the size of pebbles and no larger than a baseball. As a summary, comets, asteroids, and meteors have different characteristics and have a significant relationship from each other. The table shows the difference among comets, asteroids, and meteors. Comets are fuzzy, luminous big dirty snowball composed of rock dust wrapped around a big ball of ice. Asteroids are rocky or metallic objects orbiting the Sun the same way that planets orbit. Lastly, meteors are space rocks or meteoroids that enter Earth's atmosphere. That's it for today, grade 8 learners. This time, kindly get your activity sheet number 6 in Science 8. Activity 1, Directions. Compare or cite the similarities and contrast or cite the differences of comets, meteors, and asteroids by filling in the given Venn diagram. Use your time wisely, learners. Good luck and God bless.
Hey there, grade 9 learners! Welcome to the 6th episode for second quarter of Ang Tangkub, TV-based instruction. In the previous lesson, the learners were introduced in the concept of mass. This can be a good foundation to start the mole concept. Mole concept is strategically introduced by banking on the prior knowledge of the learners. Example of organic compound alcohol, which is composed of the different elements or atoms. In order to get the corresponding mass of a certain element in alcohol, we need to use the mole concept. Mole, by definition in chemistry, is a standard scientific unit for measuring large quantities of very small entities such as atoms, molecules, or other specified particles. A mole is a quantity that allows chemists to convert from the atomic scale to macroscopic scale. The mole concept is a convenient method of expressing the amount of a substance. Any measurement can be broken down into two parts: the numerical magnitude and the units that the magnitude is expressed in. For example, when the mass of a ball is measured to be 2 kilograms, the magnitude is 2, and the unit is kilogram. When dealing with particles at an atomic or molecular level, even 1 gram of a pure element is known to contain a huge number of atoms. This is where the mole concept is widely used. It focuses on the unit known as a mole, which is a count of a very large number of particles. The number 6.02214.076 times 10 to the power of 23 is popularly known as the Avogadro's constant, or Avogadro's number, and is often denoted by the symbol Na, or N subscript A. The elementary entities that can be represented in moles can be atoms, molecules, monoatomic or polyatomic ions, and other particles such as electrons. This number is a tribute to the Italian scientist Amedeo Avogadro. Let's have this example. 1 mole of a pure carbon-12, 12C, will have a mass of exactly 12 grams and will contain 6.02214.076 times 10 to the power of 23 Na, number of 12C atoms. The number of moles of a substance in a given pure sample can be represented by the following formula, written like this: N, small letter n is equal to big letter N over or divided by big letter N subscript A, where N is the number of moles of the substance or elementary entity, big N is the total number of elementary entities in the sample, and N subscript A is the Avogadro's constant. The number of moles of a molecule may not always be equal to the number of moles of its constituent elements. For example, a mole of water contains Na number of H2O molecules. However, each water molecule contains 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Therefore, 1 mole of H2O contains 2 moles of hydrogen and 1 mole of oxygen. Sample problem number 1. How many molecules are there in 4 moles NaCl or table salt? To answer this question, you have to consider this. 1 mole is equivalent to 6.02 times 10 to the power of 23 particles. Using the dimensional analysis approach, you will be able to convert the number of moles to its equivalent amount in the number of particles. 4 moles NaCl or table salt times 6.02 times 10 to the power of 23 molecules over 1 mole of NaCl. Cancel out mole NaCl to 4 moles NaCl. It is equal to 2.41 times 10 to the power of 24 molecules NaCl. Now, let's proceed to the molar mass of an element after getting or solving for the moles. But before that, let's unlock first the different terminologies such as atomic mass, molecular mass, and molar mass. The atomic mass of an element is the mass of one atom of the element expressed in atomic mass units or AMU. It accounts for the abundance of the various isotopes or varieties of the element and assigns an average value to the mass of one atom of the element. For example, the atomic mass of carbon found in your periodic table of elements is 12.011 atomic mass units. Since carbon samples generally contain 98.89% of the carbon-12 isotope, 1.11% of carbon-13, and trace amounts of carbon-14. However, the atomic masses of these isotopes are different. The atomic mass of a carbon-12 atom is 12 atomic mass units, but that of a carbon-13 atom is 13 AMU. The atomic mass of an element is roughly enough to the sum of all the protons and neutrons present in its nucleus. The molecular mass of an element is the sum of the atomic masses of all its constituent elements. This quantity is also represented in terms of atomic mass units. Therefore, the molecular mass of water is equal to the sum of the atomic masses of its constituents, hydrogen and oxygen. The atomic mass of hydrogen is 1.00794 AMU, and that of oxygen is 16. Since water molecules contain 2 hydrogen atoms and only 1 oxygen atom, the molecular mass of H2O is 18.0159 AMU. The molar mass of a substance is defined as the total mass of 1 mole of the substance. It is numerically equal to the atomic mass and often represented in terms of grams per mole. However, the SI unit of this quantity is kilograms per mole. Molar mass can be represented by the following formula. Molar mass of a substance is equal to mass of the substance in grams over or divided by number of moles. Example number 1. Find the molar mass of water H2O. Atomic mass can be found in the periodic table of elements. Atomic mass for hydrogen is 1.008 grams per mole and oxygen is 16 grams per mole. Since there are 2 atoms of hydrogen, multiply the atomic mass by 2 and that of oxygen by 1. Therefore, the molar mass of H2O or water is 18.016 or 18.02 grams per mole. Example number 2. Find the molar mass of ammonia or NH3. Atomic mass for nitrogen is 14.0 grams per mole and hydrogen is 1.008 grams per mole. Since there are 3 atoms of hydrogen, multiply the atomic mass by 3 and that of nitrogen by 1. Therefore, the molar mass of ammonia or NH3 is equal to 17.034 grams per mole. Hope you learned big time today, learners. Now, kindly get your activity sheet number 6 in Science 9. Directions. Fill in each box with the correct answer. Take your time and think wisely, learners. You can do it! Get ready, grade 10 learners, for Science 10 is coming next. This has been Ms. Vernalyn Carpio, your science teacher for today. Always remember to keep reading, keep watching, and keep learning at home. Bye!
You have learned about predicting the qualitative characteristics of lenses, as well as the practical applications of mirrors and lenses. Today, we will explain the basic principles of magnetism. The concept of generator can be traced back from the concept of electricity and magnetism. For today's episode, we will focus on the principle of magnetism. Magnetism is one aspect of the combined electromagnetic force. It refers to the physical phenomena arising from the force caused by magnets. Magnets are objects that produce fields that attract or repel other objects. In other words, a substance that possesses magnetic properties is a magnet. All materials have the property of being attracted or repelled. There are different classifications of magnetic substances. One is a ferromagnetic substance. The ferromagnetic substances are those materials which exhibit strong magnetism. Examples are iron, steel, nickel, and cobalt. Ferromagnetism gets its name from the word ferrous, which means iron. which was the first metal known to show attractive properties to magnetic fields. Ferromagnetism is a unique magnetic behavior that is exhibited by ferromagnetic materials. There are wide applications of ferromagnetic materials in the industry. They are widely used in devices like an electric motor, generators, transformers, telephones, loudspeakers, and magnetic stripe at the back of credit cards. Another is paramagnetic substance. Paramagnetic materials are materials that tend to get weakly magnetized or slightly attracted by strong magnets. Examples are wood, aluminum, platinum, and oxygen. There are also diamagnetic substances such as table salt, mercury, zinc, and gold. Diamagnetic materials are those that some people generally think of as non-magnetic. Substances that are already magnetized are called magnetite. These are called natural or permanent magnets. Lodestones are permanent magnets. An alnico-magnet is a permanent magnet containing aluminum, nickel, and cobalt. Permanent magnets are used in radio speakers, audio-video devices, and other electrical appliances. On the other hand, there are materials that can be made into magnets. These are called artificial magnets. Artificial magnets are made by induced magnetism. When a piece of unmagnetized magnetic material touches or is brought near the pole of a permanent magnet, it becomes a magnet itself. Temporary magnets are those of soft iron that are easy to magnetize and they lose their magnetic property very easily. Electromagnet is an example of a temporary magnet. It is a magnet that can be switched on and off. It is also used to lift heavy objects in industrial sites and in forwarding businesses. Now, let's try to analyze this picture. What have you observed from the labels in the picture? That's right. There are letters N and S, which indicate the north and south magnetic pole. Well, every magnet has two poles. The areas of greatest magnetic force are called magnetic poles. The end of the magnet that points north is called the north magnetic pole or N pole, and the end that points south is the south magnetic pole or S pole. You can produce a magnet with only one pole or monopole. Therefore, if a magnet is broken into pieces, each piece will have its north and south pole. It is important to remember that the rule of magnets is that opposites attract. In other words, like poles repel and opposite poles attract. When you place the north pole of one magnet near the south pole of another magnet, they are attracted to one another. When you place like poles of two magnets near each other, such as north to north or south to south, they will repel each other. After knowing the rules of magnets, let's talk about magnetic domain, magnetic field, and magnetic force. As we have discussed earlier, ferromagnetic materials such as iron, steel, nickel, and cobalt have the tendency to magnetize. In ferromagnetic materials, smaller groups of atoms band together into areas called domains, in which all the electrons have the same magnetic orientation. Magnetic domains are clusters of many atoms which can be thought of as tiny magnets. Before, when the material is unmagnetized, the domains are not lined up in a definite way. In other words, they are randomly arranged. After, When the material is magnetized, the domains line up in a definite pattern. All the north poles point in one direction and the south poles in the other. Surrounding a magnet is the space in which it affects magnetic materials, and this is called the magnetic field. A field is an area or region where an object experiences a force. For example, when an object is lifted to a height and dropped, it falls down. This object is pulled down by the Earth's gravitational force. So, there is a gravitational field that pulls the object down. Similarly, a magnet has a magnetic field around it. Thus, when a magnet is placed near a ferromagnetic material, the material experiences a force and gets attracted towards the magnet. This means that the magnetic field is strong near the magnet and becomes weak far away from the magnet. The same is true with magnetic force. The closer you bring two magnets together, the stronger the force between them becomes. Move them apart and the force gets weaker. Thus, if you move them farther from each other, you will eventually feel no force. We can demonstrate this magnetic field quite easily. By putting a thin piece of glass over the magnet and sprinkling some iron filings onto the glass, the iron filings will set themselves into lines, forming a definite pattern. Another striking effect of a magnet is that if we hang it up in such a way that it can rotate, it will always set itself to a point in a certain direction, and that direction is towards north. This property of a magnet is the basis of the magnetic compass, on which all navigation at sea depends. The magnetic needle in the compass is made using a tiny magnet, and it is pivoted so that it can move freely. A magnetic compass needle always points to the north. We call this red end as the north seeking pole, or the north pole of the magnet. The other end is the south seeking pole, or the south pole of the magnet. Why do you think that the magnetic compass always points to the north and south direction even if we shake or move it? That's right. It's because the Earth has a magnetic field, and so the magnetic needle is aligning itself along the Earth's magnetic field. The interesting part here is that south pole of the Earth's magnet is along the north geographical location. That's why the north magnetic compass is pointing to the north geographical location for the rule of magnet to be followed, which is opposite attracts. In addition, the north pole of the Earth's magnet is along the south geographical location. Thus, the south pole of the magnetic compass is pointing towards the south. Recall that the Earth's outer core is made up of nickel and iron, which produce eddy currents. That is considered as the principal source of the Earth's magnetic field. We can also use the magnetic compass to plot the magnetic field lines of the bar magnet. The direction of the magnetic compass is the direction in which the north pole of a magnet experiences a force. As you can see, the north pole of the compass is being pushed away by the north pole of the bar magnet. So, the direction of the magnetic field is in the direction as shown in the illustration. Moving the compass to a different point around the magnet generates another direction for the magnetic field line. If we move the compass to the other end of the bar magnet, specifically to the south pole, we can observe the red needle pointing towards it. By joining these lines using curved line, we have just plotted one magnetic field line. By repeating these steps, we can plot more magnetic field lines just like this. As you can see, the magnetic field lines are going from the North Pole to the South Pole of the magnet. Magnets have been proving its worth every day with its incredible function by making the most extraneous task easier. Magnets are used to make a tight seal on the doors to refrigerators and freezers. They power speakers in stereos, earphones, and televisions. That's it for today, grade 10 learners. This time, kindly get your activity sheet number 6 in Science 10. Activity 1, Directions. Encircle the letter of the best answer. Activity 2, Directions. Answer the following questions in at most 3 sentences. Use your time wisely, learners. Good luck and God bless.
We hope that you have learned the most essential lessons you need to master. See you on our next episodes. This has been
We share.
Ang Tangkub.
It's tangkub time. We learn all things. It's very fun, masaya. Tugtog na. Tayo na. Buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fun, masaya. Tugtog na. It's tangkub time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo, tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tangkop, tangkop time. Tayo, tayo na. Buksan ang mga radyo, lina at matuto sa mga aral sa mundo. Tayo, tayo na. Tumutok na sa TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo, tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, 'Cause
Good afternoon to our junior high school learners who are watching via our Facebook Live at DepEd Tayo Tanggub and Astral Academy. I am Mary Chris Malalis from Bintana Integrated School.
And I am Ms. Bernalyn Carpio from Tanggub City National High School.
We are your teacher facilitators today. Good afternoon, Ma'am Vern.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Chris.
How are you today, Ma'am Vern?
I'm very fine, Ma'am Chris.
Yes, same as the weather, no? Very fine
Yes,
kaayo.
but moody.
Moody lang, mukalit og ulan.
Yes.
Okay, so today is January 26, 2022, and we will be discussing topics about science.
So let us see the topics for today, or the topics for science today. So Science 7, Sexual and Asexual Reproduction.
For Science 8, we have typhoon formation.
For Science 9, Carbon Atom and Type of Bonds.
And for Science 10, we have plane and curve mirrors. Okay, so without much further ado, Ma'am Verno, we
Yes,
will
Ma'am Chris.
proceed now with our Science 7.
Yes, with learning competency, differentiate asexual from sexual reproduction in terms of number 1, number of individuals involved, and number 2, similarities of offspring to parents.
Okay, so in this lesson, you will be able to differentiate asexual from sexual reproduction in terms of the number of individuals involved and the similarities of offspring to parents.
Yes, Ma'am Chris. As we all know, Ma'am Chris, organisms undergo certain reproduction, like us humans or animals and plants. To reproduce means to make a new life. So,
right.
the beginning of a new life is truly a remarkable event, Ma'am Chris. So, the ability of an organism to produce new individual is one of the characteristics that distinguishes living things from non-living things.
Yes, that's right, Ma'am Verno. So organisms do not live forever. So without the process of reproduction, life would come to an end. So it is one of the most important and fundamental processes of living organisms. So a from asexual means without or not sexual. So this type of reproduction is the creation of new organism from a single parent without combination of gametes. So when we talk about gametes, Ma'am Verno, it refers to the sex cells of organisms.
Yes, Ma'am Chris. So, therefore, Ma'am Chris, the parent of this asexual reproduction, as shown on your screens right now, and the resulting offsprings have the same genes. So, and this is the reason why they have the same traits. So, from the same genes, Ma'am Chris, same po sila og traits. So, kung kulot ilang parents, kulot po ang offspring. Muna siya posibilidad.
Oh,
Yes.
that is for asexual reproduction.
Yes, Ma'am Chris.
And that is most common in plants.
Yes, Ma'am Chris.
Okay. So in other words, Ma'am Vern, the parent and the offspring are identical. So when we talk of offspring, it is the anak.
Yes.
Yeah. So they are identical to each other, or they are the same. They share the same physical properties like the ones shown on your screens, or it has uniform traits or characteristics just like the plants shown on your screens right now. So there is no genetic variety.
Yes.
So meaning to say, the gene carried by the parent is completely transferred or
Yes.
passed on to the offspring. So asexual reproduction requires less energy since no mating is needed, but can produce many offspring at one reproductive cycle.
Yes.
So again, examples of this reproduction are plants and bacteria.
Yes, Ma'am Chris. So now, let's know the characteristics of an asexual reproduction. Offsprings came from one parent only, Ma'am Chris. So cells divide by fission, budding, or fragmentation. Very little chance of genetic variation. Kay one parent naman siya, Ma'am Chris. Yeah, so no formation of gametes. Kay wala may nag-mate.
That's
Yes,
right.
So found in lower organisms. Examples are
Bacteria.
bacteria. So, generally, creates a minimum of two
Two.
offsprings, Ma'am Chris.
Okay, that's right. So this time, Ma'am Verno, let's proceed with sexual reproduction in animals. Sexual reproduction is a form of reproduction that involves two parents.
Yes.
So humans and all animals that reproduce sexually. So have reproductive cells called gametes. So gametes are formed during meiosis in the form of sperm produced within the testes of males, or eggs or egg cells produced within the ovaries of females.
Yes, Ma'am Chris. So, under favorable conditions, Ma'am Chris, sperm and egg cell unite in the process known as fertilization. So, the resulting fertilized egg or zygote contains genes from both parents. So, hence,
the offspring have unique combinations of genes. So offspring of sexual reproduction differ genetically from their siblings, and species extinction is highly unlikely.
That's right. So as what you can see on your screen right now, we have there the Venn diagram
Yes.
showing the comparison or the similarities and differences
yes.
of asexual and sexual reproduction. So let's come to know first, Ma'am Verno, in terms of the number of parents involved in both type of reproduction. So when we talk of asexual, it only involves one parent.
Yes.
And
And for sexual reproduction, we have two
Two.
parents. Yes.
That's
So,
right. So for asexual, cells divide by fission, budding, or fragmentation.
Yes, and for sexual reproduction, cells divide by meiosis.
That's right. And in terms of variation, there is very little chance of genetic variation in asexual reproduction.
Because it came from one parent only.
That's
Ma'am.
right.
Yes. So for sexual reproduction, we have genetic variation in offspring.
Yes,
because
there is.
of the presence of two parents.
Two parents.
Yes.
So it is already a combination of
Yes,
the
Ma'am
genes
Chris, yes.
between the two parents. And for asexual reproduction, there is no formation of gametes or the reproductive cells.
Yes, and for sexual reproduction, there is formation of gametes. Yes.
That's right. And for asexual reproduction, it is found in lower organisms or mga smaller organisms such as plants or bacteria.
Yes, and for sexual reproduction, found in higher or complex organisms like the mammals.
Yes, such as the human beings.
Human beings,
Yes,
yes.
we are mammals. And for asexual reproduction, it involves the whole parent body or a bud. It could be a fragment or a
Yes.
single somatic cell.
Yes, so for sexual reproduction, unit or reproduction is the gamete that results in fertilization or diploid or diploid zygote.
Yeah, so when we talk about diploid, Ma'am Verno, it involves two.
Yes,
Yeah.
true. Then magtunga-tungan din naman,
Yes,
Chris.
magtunga-tunga na
Yes.
dayon siya. And for asexual reproduction, it generally creates a minimum of 2 offspring. So in other words, pinakagamay nga iyang ma-produce
Produce, yes.
is 2.
Yes, 2 offsprings. And
Yes.
for sexual reproduction, creates a minimum of 1 offspring.
Okay.
Yes.
So, in terms of their similarities, of course, both are forms of reproduction.
Yes, and it involves plants, fungi, and animals, Ma'am Chris.
And of course,
it
it produces
produces-
offspring.
Yes.
So that's right. So generally, the differences between between sexual and asexual reproduction is that again there is only one parent needed for asexual reproduction, while 2 parents for sexual reproduction. So again, in asexual, cells divide by fission, budding, or fragmentation, and cells divide by meiosis in sexual. And of course, in asexual, very little chance of genetic variation, while of course possible ang genetic variation for sexual reproduction. And for asexual, again, there is no formation of gametes or reproductive cells, the sperm and egg cells. On the other hand, gametes are formed in a form of haploid cells in sexual reproduction.
Yes, so moreover, Ma'am Chris, asexual reproduction is for lower organisms like bacteria, plants, and etc., while sexual is for higher or complex organisms like mammals or human beings.
Yes.
Whole parent body or a bud or fragment or single somatic cell in asexual reproduction, while reproduction in sexual is the gamete that results in fertilization or diploid zygote. Both are forms of reproduction. Involve plants, fungi, as well as animals, and both also produces offspring. Yes.
Okay. Now let's come to discuss their activity.
Yes.
In their self-learning material, you're given or using a Venn diagram, you're to write the differences and similarities of sexual and asexual reproduction.
Yes.
Okay, so more discussions will be discussed after this short break. This is Astral Academy Cyber School.
is the way we speak. This is the way we read. This is the way we write. This is the English way. This is the way we write. This is the English way.
And we are back still here in Astral Academy Cyber School. Okay, this time Ma'am Verno, let's have our Science 8
Yes,
with
Ma'am Chris.
learning competency explain how typhoon develops and how it is affected by land masses and bodies of water.
Yes, Ma'am Chris. So in our previous episodes, Ma'am Chris, or lessons, Ma'am Chris, you have learned about the earthquake and how seismic waves describe the interior of the earth.
Today, we will explain how a typhoon develops and how it is affected by land masses and bodies of water.
So let's discuss first how a typhoon develops. So typhoon is a type of large storm system characterized by a strong and spiral winds. So it can be answered by these three keywords, which are air, water, and temperature. So observe what happens when you heat water in a covered pot. So nag-heat lag water sa murag kalaha baka. Yes. So as the temperature of the water in the pot rises, some of the water evaporates, so making the interior of the pot cloudy.
Yes.
And some water condenses on the surface of the lid.
Or
so
the
the lid,
taklob.
taklob na siya. So when enough moisture collects on the lid, it forms water droplets. And when it becomes bigger and heavier, it falls back to the water below.
That's right, Ma'am Verno. So there are conditions in the formation of a typhoon. One is the temperature of warm ocean exceeding 26.5 degrees Celsius. Another is water, again, typically ocean, as well as the wind movement. Okay, so let us let them see an illustration, Ma'am Verno.
Yes, Ma'am Chris.
So, as what you can see in the illustration, in the first part of the illustration here, Ma'am Verno.
Yes.
So, in warm open seas, the high temperature
Rises.
causes the water to evaporate.
Yes.
So, going upward, no? And the cool replaces the region where evaporation took place. So, mo ni siyang cool air replaces the region where evaporation takes place. So, the continuous evaporation of water creates a system of low pressure area. So, ang pagbalik-balik og evaporation sa water, it would create as a region having a low pressure or mo nang gitawag og LPA or
At
low
natin
pressure
karon.
area.
Yes.
So, a low pressure area is characterized by a less dense air moving upwards, leading to a more formation of clouds carrying moisture. So, clouds carrying moisture man siya, of course, kay water biya siya nga ni saka ni
Yes.
evaporate. So, wind flows from high to low pressure area. So, mao gid na ang rule of the
High to
movement
low,
of
yes.
wind. It is from high to low pressure area. That is why, when there is a region of low pressure area, wind tends to flow towards it, causing a rotational effect. So, mutuyok po siya, Ma'am Vern. It's because our planet is rotating. So, that is
Yes.
an effect, or we call it a Coriolis effect.
Yes.
So, it causes a rotational effect surrounding the region with low pressure. So, the difference in air pressure causes an increase on wind speed. Of course, kay lahi-lahi man ang pressure na
Yes.
system of low pressure
Low
and
and
high
high,
pressure.
yes.
So, of course, nagi movement of wind from high to low
Low.
pressure. And of course, a big difference on the pressure increases the speed of the wind.
wind, yes.
So, this process continues, and once the wind speed reaches 118 kilometers per hour, so mo naman ang requirement, no? So that we
Yes.
can call it a typhoon.
yes.
So it is already considered a typhoon, Ma'am Vern.
Yes. So the spiral or rotational movement of wind, Ma'am Chris, is called the Coriolis
Coriolis.
effect. Yes, which is a direct consequence of the rotation of the Earth on its own axis.
That's
so
right.
what you are seeing on your screens right now are the parts of a typhoon, which are the eye wall, inner and outer rain bands. The eye is the region of low pressure area and it is calm.
Yes.
So kalma na dira no.
Okay,
So,
low pressure man
yeah,
siya.
so however, surrounding it is the eye wall that contains the wind speed greater than 118 kilometers per hour. So
That's right.
the wind speed in inner rain bands ranges from 63 to 117 kph or kilometers per hour and less than 62 kph in the outer rain bands.
So in other words, Ma'am Verno, the part containing the strongest wind speed is the outer or surrounding the eye or the eye wall.
Yes.
Yes, having 118 kilometers per hour. But
Yes.
the eye is very calm.
Yes.
However, it attracts more wind. Kay
Yes.
low pressure area man na dira dapit. So, how a tropical cyclone is called differs based on where it formed. So, in the Northwest Pacific, the area that includes the Philippines, we call that typhoon.
Yes.
In the Southwest Pacific, Indian Ocean, it is cyclone. In the Eastern Pacific and in Atlantic, it is hurricane.
So in a very general sense, typhoons gain power as they move over warm bodies of water and start losing energy once they are over cold waters. So, and land masses, since there is nothing that could serve as their source of fuel.
So in other
Okay.
words, Ma'am Verno, makusog ra gyud ang bagyo once they are over land. Ocean,
bodies of
warm
water,
ocean
yes.
or bodies of water, specifically warm
Ocean,
ocean.
yes.
However, once it falls to land or surface of the
Ngayon
land,
na siya.
it will start losing its energy na.
Yes.
Yes.
Muna handlok ina mulabay sa Pacific Ocean.
Yes,
Chris.
hadlok siya mulabay kay mas kusog
Mas daghan
man.
mang
Oh.
energy niyang makuha.
Yes, that's right. And once ka maglandfall na siya, di ba magkaanam-anam gid siya eventually
Lose, yes.
magka-lose
Lose of
gid ang
energy,
energy sa typhoon.
Yes, and for
Okay.
your grade 8 students, for your activity, directions, read and analyze the questions and encircle the letter of the best answer.
Okay.
So, yes.
So stay tuned because we will be right back after a short break. This is Astral Academy Cyber School. And we are back still here in Astral Academy Cyber School.
So let's proceed with our Science 9, Ma'am Chris. So with learning competency, explain how the structure of the carbon atom affects the type of bonds it forms.
Yes.
Yes, so carbon is not a difficult element so to spot in our daily lives. For instance, if you have used a pencil, you have seen carbon in its graphite form.
Yes.
Yes. So in fact, carbon atoms make up the backbone of many important molecules in your body. So including proteins, DNA, RNA, sugars, and fats. So carbon is a very common ingredient of matter.
Okay, you're right, Ma'am Verno. So the compounds which contain carbon forms with or bonds with hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and few other elements are usually called organic compounds.
Yes.
All these are obtained from plants and animals, and their change remains like coal and petroleum. So the only distinguishable characteristic of organic compounds is that they all contain the element carbon. So carbon is the most common element present in all biodegradable materials.
Yes, Ma'am Chris. So carbon has a unique ability to bond together. So shown on your screens right now, it may form a long chains and rings. So carbon has 4 electrons and its valence shell. So upat ka electrons iya pwede ma-transfer, Ma'am Chris.
Or
So,
ma-share.
ma-share sa other atom or elements. So it was stated that a stable molecule results when a valence octet of electrons, octet rule, has been achieved for all atoms in a molecule. So recall that atoms need to lose or gain electrons in order to be stable.
That's
so
right.
And this can be achieved when their outermost shell or valence shell contains 8 electrons or octet rule. Mo-follow siya sa octet rule. Yes.
That's right, Ma'am Verno. Maunang mo bond si carbon with other 4 elements for it to become stable.
Yes.
Okay. So, and usually, dili niya ma-transfer iyang valence electron, which is 4. It is usually in the process of sharing.
Yes.
Sharing electrons, gani si carbon atom. So, carbon has 4 valence electrons, as shown on your screens right now, that can form a maximum of 4 covalent bonds. So when we talk about covalent bonds, it is a form of sharing electrons. So bonds are usually represented by a short straight line connecting the atoms. So it could be a short straight line, as what you can see in your screens right now, with each bond representing a shared pair of electrons.
Yes, so shown on your screens right now, electron sharing, Ma'am Chris, occurs when 2 atoms
Yes.
approach and their atomic orbitals overlap.
Yes.
Okay, so bonds that are circular cross-section and are formed by head-on overlap, Ma'am Chris, of atomic orbitals are called sigma bond. Bonds formed by sideways overlap or p orbitals are called pi bonds. 2 carbon atoms can form a covalent bond by sharing a pair of electrons, which will either form into a structure of saturated hydrocarbons and unsaturated
Unsaturated.
hydrocarbon.
Okay, so the simplest and most commonly encountered class of organic compounds is the hydrocarbon. So as mentioned earlier, there are 2 types of hydrocarbons. We call it saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbon. So let's discuss first saturated hydrocarbons, which are also called alkanes. So these are hydrocarbons containing single bond only.
Yes. So shown on your screens are examples of alkane is
Methane.
Yes, with 1 carbon atom, Ma'am Chris, and a formula of
CH4. So as what they can see in their screens, Ma'am Verno, there is only one carbon atom.
Yes, of carbon, yes.
Oo.
And 4 atoms of hydrogen nga
Okay.
nag-attach sa carbon.
That is
Okay,
right. Kaya
yes.
nga nung 4 atoms of hydrogen gali siya, Ma'am Verno, it's
Forma ng
because
valence electrons.
forma
pwede
ng
ma-share
valence.
sa carbon atom.
That is right.
Yes.
And hydrogen can be stable with only 2
Yes.
electrons. 2
Yes.
lang iyahang electrons nga gi-require for it to become stable.
Stable, yes.
Mo nang gi-attach siya to 4 valence shell of the carbon. Another example shown on your screens right now is the compound ethane. So having 2 carbon atoms, and the formula is C2H6.
Yes. Another is
Propane.
propane that has 3 carbon atoms and formula of C3H8.
Okay, so they just have to remember, Ma'am Verno, they just have to count
Number
the
of
short
carbon-
line, the
Yes,
short
oh,
line
yes.
surrounding the carbon atom. It has to be 4 only. Di po siya
Yes.
maabot og 5 kay malapas na pod.
O, di pwede.
Malabin-an na
Pwede,
pod siya.
yes.
So dapat 4 lang ang line surrounding the carbon atom.
Yes, Ma'am Chris. So now we have the unsaturated hydrocarbon. So we are done with the saturated, Ma'am Chris.
Yes.
Now let's have unsaturated hydrocarbons, in which the carbon atoms are connected by double bonds. Yes, and triple bonds.
Yes.
2 types of unsaturated hydrocarbons are alkenes and alkynes. So alkenes are saturated hydrocarbons in which the carbon atoms are connected by at least one double bond.
Yes, mao nang gitawag siya unsaturated because it could be double or triple bond.
Yes. So example of this, Ma'am Chris, is alkene is ethene.
Okay,
so which
ethene.
has two carbon atoms and formula of C2H4.
So the requirement for unsaturated hydrocarbon, Ma'am Verno, is that two carbon atoms having double bond.
Double bond.
Si
Yes.
hydrogen, it cannot do double bond
Yes,
man
kay-
because malapas na pud siya.
Yes.
Kay only 2 electrons naman ang gina-require ni hydrogen.
Yes.
That is why the only element that can do double bond is carbon.
Carbon, yes.
To carbon atom.
Yes.
So next example is propene having 3 carbon atoms and the formula is C3H6. So they just need to observe the chemical structure of propene, Ma'am Verno. The first carbon atom
Nag-iisa
having
ka, double
single
bond,
bond,
yes, yes.
and the middle carbon atom, only one hydrogen is attached to it because next to it or the third carbon atom is double bonded naman to the to the second carbon atom mo nang isa ra ka hydrogen ang naka-attach ni second carbon atom.
Yes. Another is butene. Has
Yes.
4 carbon atoms and formula of C4H8. So,
Okay.
take note ha sa yung picture nga nasa yung screens karon, naday 1 butene and 2 butene.
Yes.
So, ang meaning anang 1 butene, meaning nasa first nga carbon
Yeah.
atom. Yes, Ma'am Chris. So, ang 2 butene po nasa second nga
Oh.
carbon atom. Naka-attach ang
double
bond.
bond.
Yes.
Okay. So 1 butene if naa siya sa first carbon atom, nakita ang
Double
double
bond,
bond.
yes.
2 butene if naa siya sa second carbon atom from the left.
Yes, from the
Okay.
left. Kaya ang 1 ug 2 na, Ma'am Chris, indicates kung asa ang double bond
Location.
na location. Yes,
Yeah.
location sa kuan. Yes. So,
Next, we have alkynes. It is still a type of unsaturated hydrocarbon in which carbon atoms are connected by at least one triple bond. Again, one triple bond. At least lang. Kinagamyan ang isa ka triple
Triple bond.
bond.
Yes.
So again, the single or the simplest alkyne is the ethine.
Yes.
So ethine contains 2 carbon atoms. As what you can see, there are both carbon atoms are attached to only one hydrogen atom only. It's
Yes.
because of the presence of the triple
Triple
bond,
bond.
which kinahanglan na lang siya og isa ka hydrogen
Yes,
for it to
para
become stable.
yes.
Oo. So again, shown on your screen is an example or the chemical structure of ethine having
Yes.
2 carbon atoms and the formula is C2H2.
yes. So, next, Ma'am Chris, is
Yes,
the
we also
formula-
have another example having 3 carbon atoms.
or the propine.
Yes, it is
propine
named as-
that has 3 carbon atoms and formula of C3H4.
Yes.
So, meaning ana, nagya po siya isa ka triple bond, Ma'am Chris,
Oo.
sa iyang carbon-to-carbon atom.
Yes, that's right, Ma'am Verno. So, they just need to remember if the
Pila ang
compound
carbon
contains
atoms? Yes.
single bond,
Yes.
it is cane,
Cane.
propane, butane,
Ethane.
ethane. But if it contains double bond, so ang yang spelling na change na po.
Yes.
So it will become ethene.
Yes.
It will be
Methane,
propene.
yes.
No, there's no methane, Ma'am Vern.
Kailangan po.
The simplest
Ethane, yes.
unsaturated raman is the ethene.
Ethene, yes.
Oh. Okay.
Another is butane.
Yes.
Has 4 carbon atoms, Ma'am Chris, and formula of C4H6. So, nasa first nga carbon-to-carbon bond ang triple bond, Ma'am Chris.
Yes.
Makita.
Tawag na po siya thine.
Butane,
Oh,
yes.
butane.
Yes.
Okay.
So, for your activity, grade 9 students or science 9 students, directions show a possible structural formula of molecules by connecting each atom.
So again,
first,
no,
yes.
they just need to count the number of
yes.
bond formed.
Or the straight line.
Yeah, or the
Yes.
straight line. Dapat upat ra
Upat ra
ka
gyud for
lines
that atom to
surrounding the
become
carbon.
stable. Yes.
That's
So
right.
activity 2, directions explain in 2 to 3 sentences how the structure of the carbon atom affects the type of bonds it forms.
Okay, that's
Yes.
right. So more discussions when we return. This is Astral Academy Cyber School.
TV, mag-aral ng maigi to get the lessons easily. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tayo, tayo na. Let's come and learn together, supporting one another. We love, we care, we share. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. It's tangkop, tangkop, tangkop time. We learn all things, it's very fine, masaya. Tutok na. Tangkop, tangkop time. Tayo.
And we are back, still here. in Astral Academy Cyber School. Okay, Ma'am Verno, we're now down to our last grade level for today's lesson, Science
Before
10.
that, Ma'am Chris, we have our second attendance marker
marker
on top of your screen. On top of your screens, learners. Kindly take down the second
Yes.
attendance markers.
So, ano, ginawa
Marker
sa lapid
again.
dito
Yung
sa
markers
no?
na may S.
Oh, second
Okay.
attendance marker.
Yes.
Okay, so for our learning competency in our Science 10, predict the qualitative characteristics, orientation, type, and magnification of images formed by plane and curved mirrors.
Yes.
Okay, so in this learning competency, you are expected to understand the nature of plane and curved mirrors for you to predict the qualitative characteristics of the images formed.
Yes, so light exhibits properties such as reflection, Ma'am Chris.
Yes.
So it refers to the bouncing of light rays as they hit a medium. Or in this lesson, the medium is the mirror. Yes, mirrors could either be plane or curved. When you face a plane mirror, the pretty face you see is actually a product of reflection.
Yes, so when you look at the mirror, no, your face is the source of the incoming rays or the
Yes,
object.
yes.
And the image is formed by the reflected rays. So the image formed by plane and curved mirrors could either be real or virtual. Nadi
Yes.
tinuod na apoy virtual or plastic. Dili tinuod.
Yes.
So a real image occurs when light rays actually intersect at the image and become inverted or turned upside down. So on the other hand, a virtual image occurs as what you can see on your screen right now when light rays do not actually meet at the image or do not intersect. Instead, you see the image because your eye projects light rays backward. So you are fooled into seeing an image, but it is just a virtual image. So a
Yes.
virtual image is right side up or in an upright orientation, nagtindog. Of course, no, kung manamin ta, wa mo gyud taga balingtuwang. So it is
Yes.
in an upright orientation. So in other words, since we can see our faces in an upright position when looking at the plane mirror, it means that the image formed is virtual.
Yes. So aside from virtual image formed in a plane mirror, another qualitative characteristics are upright for its orientation.
Orientation.
Yes. Located at the same distance from the mirror as the object distance and of the same size as the object.
So in other words, dili gyud mamakak ang
Plane mirror. Yes.
Okay, so now let's proceed to the next type of mirror, which is a curved mirror, which could either be concave or convex
Convex,
mirror.
yes.
So as what you can see on your screen, concave mirrors means rounded or hollowed like the interior of a circle or sphere. So it is called as converging mirror, or if nagatubang sila kutsara, Ma'am Verno, it is the kanang katong naay laom.
Yes, katong na curve.
Yes.
Ako tong kuha kuha na Ma'am Chris ang cave, concave, meaning
Yes.
concave or line.
Cueva. Yes, that's right.
Then, as shown on your screens right now, convex means rounded,
Rounded.
or curved, like the exterior of a circle or sphere. It is also called as a fish eye or diverging mirror.
Okay, so
Yes.
if when you are facing the or when you have a spoon na po dyan sa katong ilalom or
Yes,
likod sa
likod
spoon.
sa spoon.
Oo, that's the
So,
convex.
in knowing the characteristics of the images formed, Ma'am Chris, in curved mirrors, let's understand its anatomy.
So we have
based-
this illustration, Ma'am Verno.
Yes, Ma'am Chris. So, based on the figure, point C is the center of the curvature. Point F, known as the focal point or focus. Point V is the vertex or midpoint of the mirror. The line through points C, F, and V is called the principal axis. Yes, axis. Line R represents the radius. Line F represents the focal length. Yes, so these parts are the same for both the concave and convex mirror.
Okay. So the characteristics of the images formed in curved mirrors can be identified using ray tracing method. So let us know each of them, Ma'am Verno.
Yes, Ma'am Chris.
The first ray, when a ray parallel or the incoming ray is parallel to the principal axis, strikes a concave or convex mirror. For this case, this is a concave mirror. And the reflected ray passes through the focus of the principal axis. So this is what happened.
The ray
This is the first method of identifying or locating the image,
Yes.
or the size of the image. So again, a ray parallel to the principal axis, it will be reflected to the focus of the principal axis. If in convex mirror, we have here a ray parallel to the principal axis and reflected, which appears to pass through the focus. So, yung ana iyano, morning na atay broken line dire.
Yes.
So, it will be lined up along with the focus. So, that is our first ray. Second ray, Ma'am Verno, is
Yes.
a ray passing through focus strikes a concave or convex mirror. The reflected ray will pass parallel to the principal axis. So, opposite siya no sa atong
Yes.
first ray, because the incoming ray passes through the focus and it will be reflected parallel to the principal axis.
Yes.
In case of a convex mirror, we have here an incoming ray which appears to pass through the focus. So we have here a broken line, pass through the focus and reflected parallel to the principal axis. Okay? Next type of ray is a ray passing through the center of the curvature in a spherical mirror will retrace its path after reflection. So in other words, mubalik ra siya.
bounce back ra,
Oh, it
yes.
will bounce back. So a ray passing through the center of the curvature and it will be reflected back following the path of the center of the curvature. Same is true with the convex mirror. We have here a ray appears to pass through the center of the curvature and will retrace back.
Yes.
Okay? Last is this ray striking at the vertex of a concave or convex mirror. So what will happen here is it will be reflected obliquely. In other words, the angle of incidence is just equal to the angle of reflection. Okay? So equal ra na sila. That is our 4 rays in tracing the location
Of the
or
image,
of the
yes.
image, or in predicting the qualitative characteristics of the image.
Yes.
So the point where these rays, or at least 2 of these rays meet, marks the location of the image. So let us trace the image formed in a concave mirror when the objects are located at different distances in the principal axis. Okay, Ma'am Verno, let's start here.
Yes. So when an object is placed behind the center of the curvature, Ma'am Chris.
Yes, we have here the object.
Yes.
So as you can see now, we have 2 rays. We have the first ray, a ray parallel to the principal axis, then reflected or passes through the focus. We also have the second ray, a ray which passed through the center of the curvature, then
Yes.
reflected back. So
Yes.
as what you can see, there is their point of intersection. So in other words, this is the image. So mag-trace na dayon sila og image, no, Ma'am Vern?
Yes.
So it marks the, so by this, they can now know the qualitative characteristic of the image form.
Yes.
So the first is the size. So what you can see,
Diminished or
reduced. So
Yes.
nagamay ang image.
And the type, Ma'am Chris, real.
Yes, it is a real
Real, yes.
image because it is a product of the intersection
Yes.
of the 2 rays.
Yes. On orientation, inverted.
Okay, inverted or naka
Upside down.
upside down.
Yes. And position between F and C.
Okay, so it is
curvature
located
axis.
between the focus and the center of curvature. Okay, next, let us see if an object is placed in the center of the curvature. So again, we will
the
be,
curvature and the focus.
yes, center of the curvature. If we will again trace or use the ray tracing method, a ray parallel to the principal axis, then passes through the focus.
Yes.
We also have here a ray passes through the focus, then reflects parallel to the principal axis. Then the 2 rays or the 2 reflected rays actually intersect at this point. So that marks the head of the image. So
yes.
ulo siya sa image. So mo na ang kuno, the point of intersection is actually the head of the image. So after tracing it, so we have come to know the qualitative characteristic of the image, Ma'am Verno.
So ang size, Ma'am Chris, is enlarged.
The same. The
Sorry,
same ra siya.
sorry,
Oo.
rather.
So
So,
pareha ra
same.
siya kadak ang
Yes,
object
the
o
same.
ang
Then ang
image.
type is real.
Yes.
Then also inverted, and the position is at the C, or the center
of the curvature.
Yes.
So in other words, Ma'am Vern, if the object is located or placed along at the center of the curvature, its image will also be at
The
the
same,
center
yes.
of the curvature. Okay? Now let us know if the image is
Between the center of the curvature and
focus.
Focus, yes.
Okay, so again, there are two rays which are traced here. We have a ray parallel to the principal axis, then reflected to the focus.
Yes.
We also have a ray passes through the center of the curvature. Then the point of intersection is along this point. So this is
Yes.
the head of the image.
Yes.
So, kay diri man ang head sa image, of course, naka-upside down yun siya, Ma'am Vern,
Yes.
no? So, in terms of its size,
enlarged na siya karon,
Yeah.
Ma'am Chris. Yes. Then the type, real.
yes, again, this is a real image
Yes,
because
real image.
it is a product of the intersection of the
Yes.
two rays.
Yes, and the orientation inverted.
Yes, that's
Upside down
right.
again, and the position beyond C.
C. Or the image is located beyond C, or the center,
Center
of
of curvature.
the curvature. Okay, next.
When an object is placed in between focus and the vertex.
Okay, so as what you can see here, we still have two rays here. We have a ray passing through the center of the curvature, then retracing it back, and we also have a ray passing through the vertex, then reflects obliquely or at the
Yes.
same angle. So as what you can see, if naalata sa atubangan sa concave mirror, there is no chance that these two rays will intersect.
Yes.
That is why we will extend it backward. So naa sa likod di ay ang image ana. That is why we will be retracing the line of or the reflected ray. So we will retrace it backward. Same is true with this reflected ray. So if we retrace it backward, there you can see their point of intersection.
Yes.
Now notice that the head is found in this point. Therefore,
upright siya, upright.
naka-tindog gradi ay
Yes.
si image. So it is upright.
Upright, yes. So the size is
Enlarged.
yes. And the type is
Virtual.
virtual.
Virtual siya, Ma'am Verno, because the image is located behind
Yes,
the
yes.
mirror.
And the orientation upright, or nasa
Patindog.
yes, patindog siya. Then position behind the mirror.
That is right.
Yes.
Okay, so there are two special cases, no, wherein if the object is located at the focus and at infinity. So, let us study first if the object is located at the focus.
Yes.
So, the location of the image here
Is at infinity.
yes, at infinity. So, dili na
assumed
to
to be
makita, no?
highly- Yes, Ma'am Chris.
Dili na to makita
Yes.
ang ilang point of intersection.
So, assumed to be highly enlarged, real, and inverted.
So, apply na to ni siya, Ma'am Verno, if we try to face the spoon. Di ba naapoy point nga, di na to makita nga to ang self or ang
Yes,
atong
yes.
dagway. Napoy point nga nagbalita.
Yes.
Oh, napoy point nga nagtindog rata.
Yes.
Okay, so basically naa dita sa at any location of the principal axis. If dili na to makita ang atong self, therefore we are located at the focus.
Yes.
Oo, okay. Wala man at infinity man ang
Infinity man
image.
siya,
Yes.
So, on the other hand, if the object is located at infinity, the image is located at the focus, assumed to be highly reduced, real, and inverted.
Okay, so highly reduced gid siya, Ma'am Verno, naka-point
Yes,
na galing gid
yes.
siya. Okay. So now, let's predict the qualitative characteristics of image formed in convex mirror. So, as what you can see now, convex mirror balik siya sa concave.
Yes.
Okay. And the parts of the convex mirror, we have here na pud siya sa likod. Oh, na ang focus and the
So, behind
center
the
of the
mirror,
curvature.
na
Oh,
pud siya,
behind the
yes.
pud siya. So, when the object is positioned at infinity, so gikan sa layo at infinity, so the position of the image is at the
Focus, or the F.
Yes, at
and
F.
behind the mirror. So, size of the image is highly diminished or reduced.
Yes,
so,
that's right.
nagamay siya, Ma'am Chris. So, nature of image, virtual and upright or erect. Yes.
Next is if the object is located at between infinity and the pole.
Pole, yes.
So at any location in front of the convex mirror.
In front siya karon, Ma'am Chris.
Oo,
Yes.
nasa sa
So,
front, tubangan siya sa
So, between-
convex mirror.
yes, between V and F. So,
So,
between the
Vertex, and the focus. So
yes.
actually, naaday siya sa likod ang iyahang image.
Image.
Okay, and the size is
Diminished. Also
Highly
diminished.
diminished.
Yes, yes. And virtual and erect or
Upright.
upright. Yes.
Okay, so that's it in terms of predicting the qualitative characteristics of images
Images.
formed in plane and curved
Curved mirrors.
mirrors. Now, for your activity learners, you are to encircle the letter of the best answer. So that is a multiple choice type of test. Okay, so this time, Verno, we are done with our 4 grade levels
Yes.
for today's lesson. It is now time to take a
tuned.
break muna.
Yes.
So stay tuned because we will be right back after a short break. This is Astral Academy Cyber School. And we are back still here in Astral Academy Cyber School. Okay, this time, Verno, let us now announce that it is time to see the third attendance marker.
complete the day. Yes,
Yes,
Ma'am
to
Chris.
complete the day.
So,
you have
the
here.
third attendance markers on top of your screen. Ano na, may S ka marker on top of your screens.
Kaya yes. Naman ka attendance
Ay, okay,
marker.
sa
Manang
today.
3 attendance markers to complete the day. You're right,
Yes.
Mavern. Okay, so before we end, let us extend our heartfelt thanks to the people behind this program, specifically the executive producer. We have here our dear SDS, Sir Gasepi, to our production team.
So, headed by Sir Alden Antonio and Sir Lay Enayo, and of course, to our technical team.
technical
Yes,
team.
Ma'am Chris.
And
So,
of course,
to our
junior high school learners.
Thank you so much for tuning in and for staying.
Yes, staying with us for listening.
Yes.
This has been Ma'am Mary Chris Malalis from Bintana Integrated School.
I'm Ma'am Bernalyn Carpio from Tangub City National High School.
This is Astral Academy Cyber School. Bye!